Hey everyone, Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie, M3gan. M3gan is a sci-fi horror film directed by Gerard Johnston, who has done nothing special. I saw some trailers for this movie near the end of last year, so I really wanted to check it out. The synopsis is as follows. M3gan is a marvel of artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that's programmed to be a child's greatest companion and a parent's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, a brilliant roboticist, M3gan can listen, watch, and learn as it plays the role of friend and teacher, playmate, and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to give the girl a M3gan prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. The movie opens with Katie with her parents in a car heading up a snowy mountain road. A car crash claims both of her parents' lives, and she's shipped over to her aunt Gemma's house. Gemma is one of the brains at an artificially advanced toy company and assumes guardianship over her niece. Things seem to be awkward and not going very well between them, so Gemma has the idea to create this prototype of a M3gan doll, whose advanced artificial intelligence allow it to have a lot of really lifelike capabilities. At first it seems to be going really well, but then things take a turn for the worse as M3gan starts acting outside of her parameters. First and foremost, I think the idea for this movie was really original, and I liked the way that the first half of the movie played out, but the second half fell off the edge and ended in a very anticlimactic way. And I don't think it's the idea behind the movie that was the problem. I think it's just the way that they had it play out on screen. It kind of felt like they wanted to make a movie that was part comedy, part horror, part slasher, part almost drama, because I felt like there was some pacing issues in this movie as well. And the end result was that it kind of felt weak in all of those areas. I must say that there's also a point in the movie where something is introduced and I immediately thought that's going to play a part in the end of the movie. And sure enough, it was a Deus Ex Machina at the end of the movie. I'm not proud to say I saw it coming, but I will say it was a bit predictable, especially if you've seen, I don't know, a movie in your life. Which is a bummer because I really wanted to like this movie. So for me, plot gets 50-50. 2 is family friendliness. M3gan is rated PG-13. There's a moderate amount of language, as well as a moderate amount of violence. You see a younger teenage boy get murdered, but it's not graphic. And there are a lot of creepy moments involving M3gan. That being said, I think this movie's non-committal attitude to horror, comedy, slasher, etc. is why they didn't want to push it to an R rating and have it be a more violent or more profane movie. Because even with the pulled punches and non-graphic deaths and restraint on the profanity, this movie's still not family friendly. So for me, family friendliness gets a thumbs down. 3 is acting and script. You know, with Blumhouse horror movies, you never know what you're gonna get. But I will say that I was happily surprised with the acting in this movie. Allison Williams did a great job as Gemma, Violet McGraw was great as Katie, and most of the supporting cast had decent performances as well. Especially Ronnie Chang. The multiple actresses that played M3gan did a good job as well, which made the movie even more creepy and enjoyable. The script, however, is where I take issue. Most of the dialogue between characters is great, that's not what I'm worried about. The thing I was bummed by is that the first half of this movie, it really seemed like it was going to be a horror movie that incorporated a decent amount of comedy in it. I thought it played out really well on screen, mixed with the anticipation and build-up of the horror element of this film. But there comes a point where they kind of just drop all of the funny lines or funny elements the movie has to offer and just goes with this kind of subpar evil robot storyline, which is kind of frustrating because the comedy was really working in the beginning part of this movie. So for me, unfortunately, acting and script get a 50-50. 4 is character development. I will say this movie had some good character development. You really get to see Gemma's character grow as a person as she's having to go from being this single workaholic into being a mother figure for her niece Katie. So the character journey that she goes on in this film is actually really well done and probably one of the best parts about the movie. I also think they did a really good job developing the android intelligence of M3gan. You're really able to sense how the intelligence within M3gan is changing, even though she doesn't come right out and say it, and how her attitude and mannerisms start changing as well. So though you see her as an android, you're able to see her character shift and turn into what she ends up becoming. And I really enjoyed that. There were a lot of issues with this movie, but character development was not one of them. Character development for me gets a thumbs up. 5 is visuals and CGI. A lot of the CGI in this movie surrounds the character of M3gan, obviously, but I think they did a really good job. M3gan looks very lifelike, but also very much like an android, but it's not uncanny valley, it just looks real. And I think that when you're able to do something like that, it's pretty incredible. There's some other CGI in this movie as well that's just kind of decent, but it doesn't pull you out of the movie. And there's a few creative visuals that keep you stimulated throughout the movie, though nothing crazy impressive. But because of the way that they oriented M3gan and the great job they did with that, I have to give visuals and CGI a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. M3gan's runtime is 1 hour and 42 minutes, and though there were some slower areas of the film, I didn't feel like it was too long or too short. But again, the movie's runtime wasn't the problem. It had a really creative idea, and if it would have stuck to what it did in the first half of the film, I definitely would say this movie was rewatchable. But because of the direction they went with the second act of this movie, and the very anticlimactic conclusion that it ended up having, I have to say that I probably wouldn't watch this movie again. Which is unfortunate, because if you watch it, you can see how much potential it has. It just doesn't end up going anywhere with it. So for me, rewatchability gets a 50-50. With all these areas considered, I have to give M3gan a 6 out of 10. This movie had a really strong first act when it used humor and anticipation and build up to what the second half would hold. It also had great character development, some really creepy situations, and some really decent acting performances. But the second act of the film was very anticlimactic. It forgot about the good humor that it was including, and it ended with a predictable and not very believable deus ex machina that left you feeling that despite the higher quality nature of this movie, it seemed really cheesy. M3gan is the result of what you get when you have a really good idea behind a movie, but you don't know how to maintain it or wrap it up on screen. And because of that, M3gan ends up being a subpar horror film that most certainly does not deserve the 93% that it has on Rotten Tomatoes currently. With all that being said, I would not recommend going to watch M3gan in movie theaters. You can definitely wait till it comes out on streaming services. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen M3gan, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.